return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Carla?
Aye.
Joe?
Yeah. Yes.
Lizzie?
Yes.
Renee? Corey?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Woodland Community Consolidated Governing Board meeting for May 26, 2022. Roll call vote. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Can I get a, what am I trying to get? I'm just really confused right now.
Roll call.
I apologize. I had a booster shot, so I think I'm feeling kind of woozy. But yes, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Joe?
Yes. Here.
Lizzie?
Here.
I'm gonna get it.
Renee? Corey?
Yes.
Anna?
Here.
Brianna?
Here.
Carla?
Here.
Motion carries. We have 4.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to do that before the Pledge of Allegiance?
We can do it however you want.
Oh, I think we should open the meeting with the pledge
Okay.
and then do the moment of silence.
Okay.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Okay, so before we begin the business part of our meeting tonight, we ask to take a moment of silence for former Woodland student Gavin Short, whose life was taken while doing what he loved. Gavin had a passion for weather and was majoring in meteorology at the University of Oklahoma. He was doing undergraduate research on tropical cyclones when he and some classmates were chasing a storm that resulted in a car accident, taking Gavin's life. Gavin has been described by his friends as kind, brilliant, ambitious, helpful, funny, and passionate. His bright smile, silly laugh, and kind soul touched thousands of people in his young life. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor Gavin and his family. Okay. Thank you all. Is Gavin's family here?
They were not able to make it tonight.
Okay. Is there anyone here that is here to say a few words
No.
for Gavin? Gavin, okay. Well, I guess I can,
Can I ask something before we move on?
yes, I just wanted to say a few words.
Yeah, great. I think we're probably going to do
Did not know Gavin, but I was, I'm in the Gurney Walking Club, and Quinn O'Brien, who was really good friends with Gavin and his family, apparently he was telling us great stories about Gavin and how Quinn helped him get his Eagle Scouts badge, and was telling us what an awesome young man he was. So I just really appreciate those stories that keep someone's memory alive. So it's quite a loss to the community. And I know you want to say something as well.
I just want to echo what you just said, and also to ask if, I know maybe it's not on the agenda, but if we could take another moment of silence for the students at Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas, for the recent school shooting, and just think a little bit about the students and teachers there and their families, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move forward. We have our 2022 retirees here to lead. Oh, just did that. Never mind. So next up, we have approval of the agenda. I know we need to make some amendments to the agenda. So let's look those over pretty quick. I believe it's going to be
Action item A.
it is saying
Yes.
yes. For some reason, I was looking under consent. So we're going to remove action item A from the agenda. And so B becomes A and so forth. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Libby,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Superintendent Showcase, recognition of Teachers of the Year, recognition of retirees, Amber Butel for ISB Award, recognition for Tammy Carpenter, Lake County Support Personnel Educator of the Year, and recognition of Stacy Anderson for Inspira Award.
So this is the good part. This is the part that we wait for all year. As we close out this school year, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge some very important groups of people. So first, I'd like to acknowledge our Teachers of the Year. Students, staff, family, and community members were invited to submit nominations for teachers and certified staff that go above and beyond to support Woodlands learning community and who truly embrace the life in the W spirit. This year we received 567 nominations, which to me is outstanding. And that was just in a matter of a few weeks. So we gathered all those informations, a committee met, and each school came up with their winner. So if I could have Ashley Considine come up. It's okay. I know, you're the first one. So I'm going to read a little bit about what was said about Ashley. So Ashley is a kindergarten teacher, and here's what it says. Miss Considine is fantastic. My child is so lucky to have her as a teacher. She recognizes that each of her students is at a different place and accommodates them and allows them to succeed at their own pace. She goes above and beyond for my daughter in the AM class and then turns around and does it all again for the PM class. She is enthusiastic and encourages her students to learn by providing a fun environment. She's a great communicator. We receive emails from her updating us on what's going on in the classroom and the school. We love following her on Twitter to get the inside scoop on the day-to-day activities. She finds fun and hands-on ways for kids to learn. She demonstrates all the pillars of ROAR, and she is caring and accepting. She encourages my daughter and works with her to overcome her challenges. She has been such a positive change in our daughter since she started Wheel. She comes up with creative ways to teach, not just for a lesson, but she teaches them lifelong skills. One parent wrote, my son has severe ADHD. She has never made him feel different, and she made me as a parent feel less. She has worked with my husband and I extensively to ensure that our son is getting consistent responses and rewards at home and at school. My son had been to many preschools looking for the right fit. Ashley is the right fit. She's taken my son's challenges and treats them as she would any other student. She's available to me anytime I call or email, anytime. Congratulations, Ashley. Just want to wait over there for 1 minute. Amber Fayard. Hi, Amber. So, Amber is our elementary East winner, and Mrs. Fair goes above and beyond every day, individualizing each student's curriculum, activities, social emotional needs, and cultural experiences. She connects on a personal and professional level with each of her students. She has a very unique ability to make each child feel that they are the most cherished and valued child in the classroom. She has an innate ability to form meaningful and caring relationships with her students and their families. She conveys the strengths and areas for growth to each family in such a sensitive and effective manner. Each family feels that an integral member of the team, which translates to much happier and more successful students. She researches the learning styles of each student so that their education is tailored to their unique profile. She builds on their abilities to ensure a feeling of success and confidence. She is warm, safe, and has a fun and rich classroom culture that fosters kindness and joy for students and staff alike. She does a very good job of using traditional hands-on methods of teaching with some technology mixed in. Her kind and caring disposition lifts her students every day, and they want to come to school. Her knowledge and experience in special education makes it look easy to teach each student individually at their own level, and she makes them all successful. Congratulations. Elementary West, Farrah Graff. Hi, Farrah. So Mrs. Graff is always thinking of others before herself. She is thinking about what ways she can reach students on her drive to work, how she can build better relationships while walking her dogs, and how she spends her lunch break every day planning and working on making the next lesson even better for her children. She looks at the job she is doing at Woodland and thinks, how can I grow? What can I do differently to make this better? She cares so much about everybody around her. She checks in with her coworkers to make sure they're doing okay and see if they need help on school or personal issues. She plans well ahead and shares her ideas with her teaching team. She is organized and keeps those around her grounded and organized as well. She has done all of the years she's been a team leader, and she's been so helpful. She works to make learning fun for her students. She creates fun, engaging lessons. She cares deeply about the Woodland community, and she said she feels like Woodland is her home, and she wants to stay at Woodland for her entire career in education, which now you have to. She loves her, now it's public. She loves her second grade students and keeps in touch with them as they grow up. She delights in their accomplishments and is always excited to share when a former student or parent contacts her. She's an outstanding teacher, a strong leader, and we're very lucky to have her. Congratulations. See, I told you. Middle school, Carmen. Is Carmen here tonight?
Well, Carmen's at the 8th grade dance.
Oh, see, that's a dedicated teacher. So dedicated teacher Carmen. I'm going to read you a little bit about Carmen, even though she's not able to be here. She started teaching at Woodland Middle School in 2020. She's been working there for 2 years. She teaches Spanish language arts for the dual program, Spanish for native speakers, and Spanish Explore. She started the Girls Talk Club. She's constantly putting her students first and going above and beyond to meet their needs. She's always looking for ways for students, especially within the Latino community, to feel part of the W in Woodland. She uses a student-led approach when teaching, tries her best to create relationships with her students, and challenges her students to do better every day. She's very inclusive with all of her students, and she leads by example. She has inspired her students to become the best version of themselves by learning Spanish. She forms actions that benefit everyone, not just herself. She cares for the well-being of her students and tries different methods all the time when presenting a lesson. So congratulations to Carmen at the middle school. And last but certainly not least, we have our intermediate school winner and our Woodland school winner, Mr. Joe Raychek. You should be used to this by now. We've been doing this a lot now. As you can tell, Joe is a very humble person. So Joe was chosen as the winner for the entire district. We surprised Joe at the intermediate school. He thought he was coming for an after-school meeting, and all of a sudden, it was all about Joe. And so his wife, Carrie, was in on the surprise, but it was really, really nice. We went to the Gurnee Village Board meeting, where he was also honored and received a check from the Henderson Foundation as the Woodland Gurnee Teacher of the Year. But let me tell you a little bit about what was said about Joe. This was written by a parent. From my parental perspective, being a special education teacher has to be the hardest job within a school district. Add a global pandemic to the mix when there are many unknowns, many variables, and countless changes given every day, and you have a recipe for disaster. Not in Mr. Raychek's classroom. I've never seen one obstacle get in his way. Mr. Raychek handles, manages, teaches in his classroom. He builds positive relationships with his students. My son is nonverbal, and he has taken the time out of his day to communicate with me to ensure that we are always on the same page. He asks extra questions to help get to know his students so he could better meet their learning needs. He adapts his teaching and classroom in ways to help students to be more relaxed and more comfortable. He's very clear of his expectations of his students, and he builds the type of relationships with his students, showing he cares and wants what's best for them. His students know his expectations, and when his students need a little more of a push to motivate them to do the right thing, he's great with verbal praises. He redirects behavior that may not be appropriate and does so in a manner making the student feel important and turning it around into a happy learning experience. I've got a lot of things that have been said about you, but I won't read all of them. But I will say he goes above and beyond our expectation when it comes to engaging our family. He has built such a successful parent-teacher relationship. I couldn't be more thankful for him. He focuses on the positive. He doesn't only reach for the negatives, and this means so much to me. He will answer emails day and night to put our minds at ease if any issue arises. He makes parent-teacher conferences something I really look forward to, which is something I used to dread. He is one of my son's biggest fans, and he goes above and beyond to help him, not only in school, but always willing to take the time to fill out paperwork if I need it for outside therapy or information. This information on this nomination barely scratches the surface of how amazing a teacher Mr. Raychek is. Woodland Intermediate is beyond lucky to have such a hardworking, kind, and caring man to work with this special group of kids. Congratulations. So our next group that we want to celebrate tonight, are our retirees. So I'll have Laura start the video.
their students through the tough times in their lives. God, we say thank you. You have made a difference. You have shaped our lives. Change the world, one child at a time. You have always been change the world, one child at a time. You have always been there in everything you do. Hope that you're as proud of me as I'm proud of you. As I look back on my life and to the path within my reach, I hope I can change the life of the difference. All I do is try to see a different world through the children's eyes. And I hope that you're as proud of me. Be there in everything I do. I hope that you're as proud of me as I'm proud of you.
If I could have the retirees that are here tonight, if you could come on up. The other thing that each retiree is receiving is from the state of Illinois is recognizing you in the 102nd General Assembly House of Representatives for your years of service from Joyce Mason. So each of you will be receiving one of these. So Lenore Bador. If you want to stay over by Brooke. David DeVita. Jenny Pilcher. Jan Bella Petrovich. And me. Got it. Okay, so I know we want to take some pictures. If we want to wait until we're done, we have one more category, and then we can do that. But congratulations to all of our retirees. Okay. Thank you. Do you want to stop and take pictures now, and we can do our last group? It's up to you. Oh, if you want to stand here just for a second, and we'll do our next group. Sure. Okay, if I could have, just as a final note to our retirees, we know that your time at Woodland is coming to an end, and you've reached some really important milestones in your career, but your contributions will always be remembered, and you will always be missed and celebrated. I hope as you look back on your career that you'll remember the times when you helped a student or a coworker, and you reflect on those accomplishments. I hope you see what we see, and that is that you clearly made a difference. So thank you. Now, can I please have Amber Butel? So these next awards, you okay?
I'm sorry.
If you want to sit down, I can have.
No, I got it.
Okay. So Amber, Amber's here tonight. Oh, we also have some other fun gifts for the retirees. If you want to share those, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't know if the board has seen these.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Could you show the board, please? Mrs. Campanella, can you please show the board?
Sure. Thank you.
Teacher of the Year, can you please show the board? You're not retiring.
Not yet. No.
That's all.
And then they each get a blanket. I apparently am not tall enough.
Okay. All right. So we'll have you wait just a second, and then we'll take a picture with the board, okay? So Amber, thank you for being patient. Back in 1970, Amber is currently a kindergarten teacher at the primary school. And back in 1970, the Illinois State Board of Education sponsored the Illinois Teacher of the Year program, and they recognized the best teachers in the profession. The top 8 nominees are designated as regional teachers, and Illinois Teacher of the Year is selected from that group. We had one person from Woodland, Amber, who was awarded on another level, which is the Meritorious Service and Special Recognition. So we are beyond proud when we heard that you were that winner. So congratulations on your recognition of meritorious service. It's hard to say. Congratulations. Next up, we have Mrs. Anderson. So it is with great pleasure that I share with you that Stacy has been selected as the recipient of an Award of Excellence in the Administrator category as part of the 2022 Distinguished Service Award program sponsored by the Illinois chapter of the National School Public Relations Association. The statewide Distinguished Service Award programs honor those who have enhanced education and conveyed its importance to the community on behalf of the schools and districts. Here's a few of the highlights from her nomination. She's an outstanding administrator, brand ambassador, and an authentic communicator. As principal of the primary school, she is our first point of contact for the majority of our students and families when they begin in the district. And she's such a warm and welcoming communicator, she puts her parents at ease because she's knowledgeable and patient. She co-chairs the District Pride and Community Relations Committee, where she led the district through a rebranding initiative. And now everyone in our learning committee celebrates being part of #LifeInTheW. She also co-chairs the Wellness Committee, which was so important as we came through our pandemic together. She's a strong advocate for team building and makes Life in the W a fun place to learn and grow. She has an enthusiasm that can get people involved and rallied around a common goal. Finally, she's a proud Woodland storyteller. She creates engaging content for newsletters and social media. She shares photos and videos to help give our stakeholders and parents a front row seat to the great things happening in your school and in our district. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least, Tammy. Tammy, come on up. Tammy Carpenter. So earlier this month was the first annual Lake County Regional Office of Education held their first annual Educator of the Year event. And there's about 350 of us in attendance at the Lake County Fairgrounds. Tammy Carpenter was nominated by her peers in the support personnel category. Many of her colleagues attended, as well as your lovely mother, who is promising to cook for me. We were thrilled to have Tammy nominated and to celebrate her. After all the nominees were listed in her category, it was time for the winner of all the schools in Lake County. And Tammy was in a category with several others in many different support personnel categories. When Tammy's name was announced, the Woodland Group went crazy. What an honor for her to represent all of the hard work of all of our paraprofessionals in the district, all the work they do every day, as well as so many other Woodland support personnel. Tammy's been in the district for several years, serving at primary and elementary. She is funny, she is humble, she is hardworking, smart, has a huge heart for all children, and especially those with special needs. We're extremely proud of all these amazing Wildcats tonight, and we know that they will continue to do great things in the future. Congratulations.
Yeah, probably. about it being approved, but I got a contract back anywhere that says, please sign this, sign the actual appointment.
I feel like something came in the mail with 3 copies. Handed us 3 copies.
That sounds familiar. I think we talked about it here, now you're saying that.
And then seen missing. Then from there, I have no idea. Scour my office. Watch, I've got 3 copies that are unsigned sitting in my office. I really.
You practice it, then give it to Barry, so we can mail back.
We would have kept one at the very least. So that would have been the thing. So.
That's what we check the drawers, see if there's.
I will, yeah. I would say typically anything that's like a construction contract, handle it your side just because you don't typically house. But
Short-term contracts. Yeah, I checked the construction company, I don't have that.
But I don't even know how to sign it.
But when I find out, well, if it came hard, then it wouldn't have, if it came hard copy, I wouldn't have any emails.
Yeah.
We would have sent it back.
I really, really want to. I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing me sitting out somewhere in the opening and watching the very interesting papers.
I just want to sure I didn't find anything in mine.
I wish I had more time to look for the. Because I'm not here tomorrow. I'll look for it afterwards. Although this meeting's probably not going to end until. Then we'll get back to the books too. What's that? What's that? The fun part.
They see that, and I'll walk around with you.
Give me the piece.
So,
random set of family members that don't know we don't want any. But they like I have all the names. Everyone and they just read it as like.
Coming back fast. Do it. Go now.
Okay. This is your second retirement?
second one, second.
So you know the years too?
Yeah, I'll find license Oh, okay.
Like, that's the yeah.
So do we? I was thinking we should have gotten you a sign. I got so we just as we should honor Chris for his 150,000
Countdown
What's
kids?
happening?
Yes.
So what is the X-ray dance? Is it just like, so post-promotion is just like all experience only?
Yeah. And there's open gym. That's what my kids wanted to go. I think they actually didn't end up going. They changed their mind at the last minute. But I was
Did they end up
excited they
going?
wanted to go. No, they didn't go.
Dress code, is it like?
It's just like school dress code. Yeah, it's not like fancy
It's not like fancy dress.
Yeah,
where did you go?
St. Mary's.
Okay.
That was 8th grade. St. Anthony's. That was really good.
Wasn't it fun?
I like this part of it.
Right? I do my
this
best.
is my favorite meeting that I've been to, like the last year and this
I
year.
know.
So
I
great.
want to do the kids. I want to do the kids. They weren't able to do this, which you guys did.
That's what I'm saying. Like this is. We haven't seen this big of a group for good reason. I would say good things.
Hey, how are you, George?
This is the best opportunity just for me to shake your
Oh,
hand. I
thank
couldn't
you.
get eye contact with you before you left.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Likewise, likewise.
Good.
I'll definitely be there for the other parties.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good job.
Wasn't it? I love that.
It was good. I kind of feel I'm totaling it up in my head as they go, like, how many years of service?
Oh, I know.
8.5 years on a playground supervisor. It's like the Lord's work. How many kids have fallen off of playground equipment and you help?
In like the bad weather and everything, you know.
Okay. That was exciting.
That was awesome.
Corey loves being a board member right now.
I need this.
Good.
I think every teacher needs this.
Well, it's not been a great year.
Okay, where are we?
Okay, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started again. Next up, we have citizen statements. Is there anyone here, or is there anyone signed up for citizen statements, Laura?
Not that I. Yeah,
No? Okay, well, thank you. Next up then, consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Yeah, so moved.
Seconds.
Okay, discussion. Roll call vote.
Renee, Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Okay, next up, we have approval of the Child Internet Protection Software renewal. These are all action items, by the way. We're into action items. And A is approval of a Child Internet Protection Software renewal. Can I get a motion to approve the renewal of the 3-year contract with Securely at a cost of $35,000?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, please. Roll call vote.
Corey,
Oh, yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
motion carries 6-0.
Okay, moving forward then, we have approval of wireless controller replacement. Can I get a motion to approve the purchase of Cisco wireless controllers through Sentinel Technologies at a cost of $87,100?
So moved.
Seconds.
This was something that was discussed at the last board meeting. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee, Corey.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Action item C is approval of IASB delegate resolutions. Can I get a motion to approve the submission of the 2022 delegate assembly resolutions as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Again, we discussed this last month. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe.
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee, Corey,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Action item D, approval of the final school year calendar. Can I get a motion to approve the final 2021-2022 school calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Okay, did you want to just explain in case?
Sure.
For the record, someone's.
So this was for this school year's calendar. It's not for next school year's calendar. So let's say we had to take a snow day or a day that we had to extend the school year, which we did not have to. We have to, at the end of in May every year, we have to approve this year's calendar. So the one that's already been approved is still approved. That has not changed. So this is just approving that this is our final days that we put in for this year.
No need to
Good
extend any
clarification.
further.
No need to extend. Says the retiring superintendent.
Any further discussion?
I am in favor of doing what we've already done.
Roll call vote.
Carla,
Aye.
Joe,
I'm a yes on this one.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee, Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, and then next up, action item F, approval of elementary school of asbestos abatement. Can I get a motion to approve Colfax Corporation as the low bidder at $40,000 to perform asbestos abatement at the elementary school during the summer of 2022?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion. Yes, I did. And I called it E, too. We'll go back.
I'm sorry, Chris, do you have anything to say about the asbestos removal?
Yeah.
As part of the elementary school unification plan and the central office, this was one of the steps that was part of that entire plan. Obviously, that plan got put on hold for a bit. This is an essential step. This is something that's necessary. Why don't we get it done this summer and ensure that next summer things go smoothly? So that's why we did it this summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a must.
Any further, Joe? I know.
No, it's just a must. We have to do it.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Joe,
Yes.
Lizzie,
Yes.
Renee, Corey,
Yes.
Anna,
Yes.
Brianna,
Yes.
Carla.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
Next up, we have, it's actually action item E, approval of educational services, department, organization, and job descriptions. Again, we had a discussion on this at the last board meeting, and the information was also supplied to us during closed session. Are there any, did we do the motion?
No, we didn't do the motion.
Oh, okay. Let me do the motion first. Can I get a motion to approve the restructuring of the Educational Services Department for the 2022-2023 school year, including revised job descriptions and the new Director of Educational Services as presented?
So moved.
Second?
And now discussion. We all had the information last month. It was in our board packet. We had the opportunity to ask questions during closed session. Is there any further discussion? Is there any, do you want to say anything, Dr. Maychek? Just for the record and
Sure. Well, once again, I want to thank the board and Dr. Casey for the support of kind of rethinking how that department does business. I think besides being more efficient, it's going to be a more effective way to deliver services to our students, our staff, and their families. It's also created some new opportunities for some of our staff members to support administrators and teachers in the buildings in a way that we haven't been able to do heretofore. And I'm just really excited about it, and I appreciate the board's support.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion, questions? Roll call vote.
Lindsay?
Oh, wait,
No,
I'm
I got
sorry.
nothing. No,
I
I'm
cut
ready
Joe
to vote.
off.
No, I'm ready to
Sorry,
vote
Joe.
yes.
Go ahead.
I'll vote
Sir.
yes for Lizzie. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Renee? Corey?
Yes.
Sorry, Joe.
Anna?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Joe?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Action item G, approval of elementary school whiteboard purchase. Can I get a motion to approve the purchase of 51 whiteboards for the elementary school at a total price of $33,160.60?
So moved.
Seconds.
Any discussion?
You want to?
Sure. We're trying with the reunification, or the unification, we're trying to make sure that everybody has the tools that they need to be successful in the manner, style that everybody teaches in. The whiteboards over there there's like 3 phases of whiteboards with painted on, overlays, and regular whiteboards. The overlays are all used up, they need to go, and the painted ones are not great either. They've outlived their useful life. So we're trying to get new whiteboards in those rooms that need new whiteboards.
Okay.
Will they be able to deliver in all of them, or is there like there we go.
We already have the science tables getting ready to come in.
Oh, that's great.
Science tables are coming.
Awesome.
And
So it
that's
doesn't have a
in July,
microchip in it.
so-
We're good.
Wow.
Yeah.
No microchip, we're good.
We'll have to come see those.
And then the install will happen this summer too.
Yep,
Then
absolutely.
absolutely, that's awesome.
So all 51, you said?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
So the Finance Committee took a tour of some of the new facilities that will be in transition. I guess they're not new facilities in transition, but the whiteboards are much needed. So yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions? Nope. Okay, hearing none. Roll call vote. Oh,
Renee?
yes. I'm sorry.
Renee? Corey?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Joe?
Yes.
Lizzie?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next up, we have reports and discussions.
I feel like we just voted twice.
Items. We'll start off with a report from Mrs. Tiffany Drake and Assistant Principal Mr. Sean Murphy. They'll provide a report, a presentation on the middle school conduct and social media. Thank you. So I'm gonna.
All right. Tiffany, can you talk to me? Oh, I will. Thank you very much, board. We are, I don't want to say excited, but yes, we are excited. I think what we're excited about tonight is that we are here to be reflective and also to be honest about what's happening in our building, and to give you the information from our standpoint, and to present what we are doing and what we will focus on for the future. They heard me. All right. So the first part here, what we have is that obviously with our student conduct, and I know that it's been a topic for a lot of school districts, obviously school districts in Lake County, school districts across the country, and I think you already know that. It's not just a Woodland problem, right? Here I presented some articles. We won't go through them, but you can go back. The articles, violence in schools seems to be increasing. Why? If you want to take a look at that. Iowa teachers are fed up with violent school fights. Psychiatrists say social media may be the blame for many school fights. So that's just some articles that we've had just to kind of take a look at. It's not just a Woodland problem. It's happening everywhere, and everybody knows that. But when I read through some of those things, those articles, some of the key words that stuck out to me: pandemic, aggression, trauma, increased suspension, violence, social media, and social isolation. So all of those terms were in all of those articles as we start to talk about violence in schools and its increased fighting. So here's another little thing that I kind of found with just from the American Psychological Association. And if we just take a look at it, and we kind of go through, the pandemic really did us in. The isolation did us in. Students resulted in the increase in social media. And so a lot of this stuff you guys already know. But I have that information for us, so just to get a little background of what we're dealing with day to day and what the country is dealing with day to day. But what's happening at Woodland Middle School for us? Before we start to talk about some of the issues that we have, I do want everybody to know that we got some good kids. That's the one thing we need to make sure. We have 90% of our students are not fighting. 90% of our students are appropriately behaving. They're respectful. They're not bringing a weapon to school. They're not bringing alcohol or drugs to school. They're following our expectations. We have good kids. Now, unfortunately, we have a pocket. 4% of our students are fighting. What are we doing? What are we doing? What does that data look like for us? What does it look like at the middle school?
So I reviewed all the data from this year. I think at the last board meeting, which was the end of April, I was asked to put some of the data together. So all this data is at the end of April. And we had at the time 97 suspensions issued for fighting. That does not mean 97 fights. 97 suspensions. Individual suspensions were issued. 65 students were involved in one fight. 11 students were involved in 2 fights. 2 students were involved in 3 fights, and 1 student was involved in 4 fights. Broke it down, 73% were male, 26% female, and 64.6% were from low SES families. In comparison to some of our previous years, we had some, last year we didn't have a full year, but we were able to go through mid-March. And in FY18, we did have a larger year of fights compared to previous years, where 52 students being in 1 fight, 5 students being in 2 fights, and 1 student being in 3 fights. With SWIS, which is the school-wide information and support, they have a database that we use to enter all our referrals, part of PBIS. You can compare your school to the 700-800 schools who are also entering data into SWIS. And how do we compare? Except for the month of November, we were under the 25th percentile of referrals sent to the office that led to consequences. So compared to the United States, of the users who use SWIS, we are seeing a lot less referrals than a lot of the country. The green line's the 25th, black's the mean, and the red line is the 75th percentile.
So can you explain that again? You're saying
Data.
Yeah, so
what are you saying here?
when administrators get a referral to middle school, and we issue a suspension, we put it into Skyward, which is the official database for discipline. But we also put it in something through PBIS called SWIS, where we put minor referrals and major referrals. So, and it calculates. So these are all the referrals. So in September, referrals per day. When we put it in and it calculates it, it norms it to the other schools that are using SWIS.
Okay.
How many average referrals per day is the office receiving?
And how many schools are using SWIS?
700, 800.
Okay.
It's pretty. I can give you the exact number, but it's.
Is it good?
It's a big number.
Okay.
And it's actually international as well. But yeah. So as we compare it, we're doing well compared to the other schools who are. I've often said I'd really hate to be, the schools that are up here. And that's all referrals. That's not just fights.
All right. So what are we doing? And I know you guys saw it. There were people talking about it, and we had increase in fights. So we were honest about that. What are some of the things that we need to do? I had parents emailing me, students emailing me that we did see an increase in fights. And we put things into place to make sure that because it was that safety part, right? People not feeling safe by being in school. So the administrative team and the teachers, we got together, and what are some of the things that we need to do now? What do we need to do? So obviously, just like that data, we need to look at that. Where were the fights happening? At what time were they happening? What do we need to do? Looking at the data to find out where that's happening. Girls, boys, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. We needed to really look at the data. Supervision during passing periods. We needed to make sure we increased that by administrators and teachers. I sent quite a few letters home to parents. Also asking parents to help us out with talking to their students and also watching their social media, because we found that a lot of our fights, all of our fights, were being started on social media. And so I asked parents to help us out with that several times with the communication that I sent home. We were requiring parents to pick up students who had fights, and we were meeting with those families who had multiple, for the students who had fights. I walked around to every single classroom in that building for 2 days. I spoke to all the students in that building. I talked about expectations. I talked about the increased fights. I talked about the discipline that would happen. I talked about having pride in the school. So those were all the things that I had done when I went, what I talked about when I went around to all of the students.
And when did you go around, Mrs. Drake?
I went around, during their class periods.
No, I mean, what part of the year?
Oh, I just did this in March.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So once you saw there was a problem?
Yeah. When we came back from spring break.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you saw there was a problem and then you went to address it with individual,
Mm-hmm.
okay, with the classrooms. So.
Yeah. And then we also, as I walked around, I also told the students of how they could report fights or rumors of fights to the administration, to teachers, also our anonymous tip lines. We reminded the students of that. We were also addressing rumors day to day. We had students in our office constantly. We were trying to be proactive. Whenever we heard something, all of our administrators had kids in their offices. We did peer mediation. We had increased presence from the Gurnee Police. We asked them to come during our high periods of our passing periods. Our wonderful ESC came along as well, and they helped during the passing periods. Obviously, we followed the discipline matrix for the fights. We gave stronger consequences. We followed it, and we made sure that we gave stronger consequences. We had escort plans for students who were involved in fights. We were walking kids around, making sure. We had some mentoring, positive affirmations in the morning in our PA system. Even though those kids who were not fighting, we were making sure that we still positively affirmed them. The cell phone. We reviewed that policy to make sure, because you have to remember, we didn't have lockers. So the kids had their backpacks, their phones in their backpacks, so they had them with them. So that became an issue, yes.
Do we have phone caddies in classrooms?
We do not.
Okay. Well, there you go. Okay.
We do not.
All right.
Phone what? I'm
So
sorry.
I'm asking about a phone caddy. A phone caddy is, it looks like a case for phones with a number on it, so that the kid would come in and it would be like, you're slot 2. So the student would put his phone in slot 2. He could see his phone in the room. He'd have the spot assigned to him, all right? And then the phone would be not on the student's person, but still within sight of the student, so he would know it's there. If there's an emergency, if something happens, I can get to it, but it's not going to interfere with my learning. I'm sorry, I know this is your presentation.
Yeah.
But I just really.
No, you're great.
Yeah. So that might be a.
Okay. Yeah.
$14.99 on Amazon. I
Okay.
actually Googled it. It's
Okay,
really
good, very good. So obviously, we reviewed our cell phone policy with our parents as well, and we still have our cell phone policy up on Schoology. The kids see it every day, so that's happening. Our second step lessons throughout the month of April, was all on conflict resolution. We also had some student focus groups. I did those, and it was amazing. Some of the kids, what they said to me. Why do you think we have so many fights? Drama, social media, and people just being disrespectful. How do we stop fights? Social media. The kids are telling me this. Social media, stagger dismissal for explorers, put the phones away, more patrolling, and walk on one side of the building as we're passing. That's from the kids.
There was also some concerns came up from you guys about Instagram. What are we doing when a fight breaks out? The kids have their phones in their back pocket or their backpack. They take it out and they film. And when a fight breaks out in the middle school, everyone runs to it, not away from it. So they've got all the phones, and in seconds, it's posted around social media, Snapchat, Instagram. We were made aware of 3 accounts that 2 of them dealt with posting of fight videos, and 1 of them of pictures of students supposedly sleeping at the middle school. We have reported the accounts multiple times via Instagram reporting procedure. They do not have an easy way to report anything. You can report, there's no number to call, you can't say I'm a school and this is fight. Contacted Gurnee Police and the school resource officer, Officer Lazaro at Warren, who comes over and helps us a lot. He said, comes to the police, that's the only thing they can do too. There is no police calling Instagram saying, hey, take this down. If a student or staff, community member brought the Instagram account to our knowledge, we would say, here's how you report it. Last week, or the week before, Tiffany and I were talking about it and realized that the logo that's up in our corner here of our presentation is on 3 of the Instagram accounts, and so we filed a trademark violation to Instagram saying that they're using this. Somehow, how can we get their attention? Because they're not very reactive to these complaints. Multiple communications to parents asking them to monitor child's social media accounts, daily conversations with students regarding social media and drama. And we spoke to a student who we believed was the creator of the WMS Fights account based on the profile picture. We talked to him. The profile picture was a student then changed to the Woodland logo. And actually, I checked it this afternoon. It is taken down. I did email follow up with the parent earlier this week saying, hey, it's still up there. I checked it, and it is now down. So we got 1 out of 2, but that was dealing with the parents and support from the parents. It is not easy fighting social media, to the point that Brooke Hagstrom, communication director, is a part of these organizations, and they are realizing that social media, these big companies are not listening to them. So they put together a survey about what are these needs, what's going on, how can social media really help schools, education, to combat these posts. The results are going to go to leaders at these top social media platforms, and that the hope is if all these schools come together in the country, or that social media will start sharing with us, or listening to us, because it is a big problem. We can't combat social media. It's very hard. Through our SEL, which are social emotional learning lessons, which take place on Tuesday and Wednesday in April. We always knew that February, March, and April are kind of some of the big conflict months. We've known it because we've been tracking data for the past 11 years, 12 years. So these lessons in 6th grade, on conflict. In 7th grade, again, different age-appropriate lessons, also dealing with conflict and how to deal with it. And in 8th grade as well, resolutions, relationships, listening to other perspectives were presented.
So yeah, that's what we got. But what are we going to do for next year, right? So one of the things as I'm a reflective leader, right? What is it that we need to do, and what is it that where are we lacking? We do know that we need some consistency. So that's going to be one of the things that I work with my staff on, just consistency. Whether it's in the hallway supervising, whether it's having the kids engaged in the classroom or making sure that we are being consistent in the lessons that we're teaching. So that's going to be making sure we're all consistent with the cell phone policy. We're going to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. Cell phone, now you talked about caddies, I'm not sure, but what we had thought about is making sure that we reviewed the cell phone policy with our students and our parents, obviously in our welcome back letters, but as a building, having a time at homeroom for all the students to put their phones away. Our policy pre-COVID was to put the cell phones away in their lockers, turned off. So that's what we had planned to do for next year.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If a student says, I have to go to the bathroom, right? And then they go to the bathroom, get their phone out of the locker, and now they got their phone in the bathroom.
Yes, that could happen, and you know that that's probably going to happen, right? And so we would still go through our policy of, we'd have to make sure that, obviously if it's a verbal, the first time it's a verbal warning, the second time we take the phone and it is, we keep it throughout the day and we give it to them back at the end of the day. The third time it would be, the parents have to come and get it. So we would follow the policy.
Do you think in this day and age that we would want students to put their phones in their locker? I mean, it seems like we would want the students to have their phones maybe stay on them but turned off or on vibrate.
Yes, that is a decision. Yes,
but not touching, not on the desk, not, to Joe's point, not, have it in a caddy or something, because we want if an emergency happens in the school, we would want those students to have access to their phones.
Yes, that is part of what we would have to determine if that's what we want to do. So we have to decide, and that would be an administrative decision that we would have to talk about, because we have two things on our hand. Do you want, if there is a fight, do you want things to be videotaped and then put out? So if we say no to that, then my answer to that, if we say no, then that means that the cell phones need to be put away. So those are the things that we have to kind of think about, and we will discuss that.
I think a lot of parents would say, I would feel safer if my kid had a way to contact me in the classroom.
There is, through Schoology,
okay,
you can email your son or daughter. The emails to the school do not accept outside email, but you can message through Schoology. You can send messages. We created COVID, as you know, for my own kids, this addiction to electronics.
Yeah.
And it's constant stimuli, and we have to figure out whatever the board decides we will do, but there are ways for parents to contact students without using the cell phone.
And that is what we typically do. That is what we do now. That is what we ask parents to do now. If you need to get a hold of your child, please call the school, right? So that we can, monitor that. Because I have parents who call the nurse or parents who call the kid and then say that they're sick. They haven't gone to the nurse. So those types of things. So what we would like for parents to do is to call the school if you need to get a hold of your child.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense, of course.
Well, and I think, I completely agree that students and parents are going to feel safer, but then it's back to the consistency of, if the policy says the phone is off, then the phone does need to be off, and the staff needs to make sure that's happening.
On social media, hey, fight in the e-hallway, you'll get 100 people with a phone running to a fight that we don't know about, but everyone else in the school knows about it.
Well, and it's more likely to happen if kids think it'll be on social media and they can get attention for it.
Just to see it.
Yeah.
So obviously those are strong conversations that we need to have and weigh what we need to weigh, but also what's the policy.
Can I ask a follow-up though with that? I mean, if you see it on social media, kids watching a fight, do they get a consequence for that?
So here's what happens. If we come up to, if there's a fight and kids have their cell phones, we see those students, yes. If you are videotaping a fight, you are consequenced. And when I talked to all of the students, I did remind them that is a consequence, right? Now, obviously, if there are lots of kids with their phones out, I can probably catch a couple of them, right? Because we're sending them on, or they see us and they put it away. So for those students that we do see, then yes, we will consequence.
First priority is safety.
Right.
Getting the kids expanded, but there are a lot of cell phones. We usually get one or two, but after we stop it, disband everyone, make sure everyone's safe. Kids kind of split.
So we'll continue to maybe making sure we place the students with issues. They're separated for the next year. Staff will continue to walk students to PE and Explore. We'll continue to do that. And then I actually got on the phone. I had a conversation today with Adam Krieger over at Warren Township. He will be talking to Dr. Walls this week or next week, he said. But we had talked about he has a program that he would like to bring into the schools where he would actually come and bring some of his staff and work with some of those students who have had multiple issues, especially for those parents who cannot go at night for resources, right? And then maybe they can come during the school. And so he'd really like for us to kind of connect and work with him on that. Obviously, we'll make sure that we have our school resource officer. We'll update our parents. We'll continue with our PBIS expectations. Restorative practice at the middle school, yes, we're excited about that. And we'll strengthen our peer mediation program, and then obviously continue with our mentoring program.
And on the last note, after taking the data at the end of April, and then this week I pulled all the fight data from the month of May. We have not had a single 8th grade fight. Well, they're graduates, don't even know.
Oh yeah, where they're going.
One 7th grade fight and maybe 2 6th grade fights. But those fights were in the gymnasium or out in the field or in a bathroom, not where we increased all the supervision in the hallway where the other ones used to be. So it was great to see that it's what we're doing is being successful.
I think that in addition to the discipline and the making sure that the hallways are supervised and the cell phone, there's another piece to it that I think has to do with the school climate survey's question about positive relationships with an adult in the building. Steve, do you know how that's worded? I don't mean to call you out, Dr. Thomas, but on the school climate survey, right, I have a positive relationship with an adult in the building.
From the 5 essentials, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm in looking at how we can improve post-COVID, I think that's an area too. If a student has a very strong positive relationship with an adult in the building, they're a lot less likely to want to act out or get in trouble. And that, I think, might be another area that if we could focus on that. I mean, it would, not to say that we don't focus on that already. I mean, of course we do, but like directly and intentionally say that this is going to help our kids in terms of discipline and engagement. Like if we, coming back from COVID, focusing on academics, focusing on test scores, focusing on routines, focusing on surveillance, right? All of those things might not necessarily make a kid feel like a sense of, I want to do the right thing for you because you care about me, right?
Yeah. So that's why we really hope, I know that our restorative practice training for all teachers are going to do just what you said.
Okay.
And we'll continue to work through that too.
I had a question. If you could go back to, like, in one of those early slides where you had the data up about 90% students don't get in trouble. And you said 4.5% do. Where's the other 5.5%?
So this is the 90% when we pull all the kids who've been suspended up until from August to end of April. All of them. That's 10%, 9-point-something%. Out of that 9%, the 4%, 4.5 are fighting. So the 90% have never been suspended, never got enough referral. The other 10 have. Out of that 10%, 4.5 are the ones that fight.
They got it for something else.
There you go.
Yeah.
What?
They got it for something else.
Okay.
Different infraction.
And these are the major discipline infractions that are in the handbook.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. We're going to go to the dance if that's okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Looks like we have another presentation. See the ladies gearing up. We have a presentation on K through 5th grade math resource curriculum materials. So presenting for us this evening is Dr. Steve Thomas, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning with Equity, Dr. Victoria Kiefer.
She's not. She's in extension today.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Who will not be here. And then you ladies will introduce yourselves?
I will actually introduce them, but I have
Okay.
them actually on the screen right behind you.
Oh,
So we
I
have
have
4
to
other.
look at
Yes,
it.
yes. I know you're in the fortunate spot of not being able
No
to see
problem.
them.
I don't.
I'm Steve Thomas, the Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning with Equity here at Woodland, and I have with me 4 very talented, very committed, dedicated educators here at Woodland, and hopefully you'll get a chance to know a little bit more about them as I present today. So I have Ms. Bowdry, who is a kindergarten teacher, Ms. Lupke, who's our math specialist working with dual language, both at primary and elementary. Ms. Newman is a 5th grade teacher at intermediate, and Ms. Vasquez is a 1st grade dual language teacher. So we're going to go ahead, and now we can stand up. Yeah. we had a big committee that worked on this, but I'm going to let Dawn, Ms. Lupke, talk a little bit about what we did.
Good evening. So when we first started, when the committee got together, Dr. Thomas and Dr. Kiefer asked us to write down what our vision was for math. And some of the words and phrases that we saw on the board were engaging for students, encouraging math talk, conversations, focusing on problem solving, a program that was hands-on and getting the kids involved in the learning. This is the second one, sorry. When we want a program, we thought of a program too. A couple things came to mind. We wanted one that that a lot of opportunities for differentiation for our children, so we could meet them where they were. Another concern was that we wanted a program that provided good math instruction in Spanish, and particularly Latin American Spanish, which is what our children come from, their native language. And then also a program that represented our students in the pictures and in the activities that they did, as well as being able to communicate with parents with activities that are online. So we started by looking at programs from the Ed Reports, which is an online program that they kind of rate the program. So we looked at ones that had high ratings. We then selected programs and the publishers came in and presented to us, after which we then submitted a list to Steve and Vicki of the programs that we wanted to pilot. When we were piloting, all the ladies here were piloters. As a math specialist, we supported our teachers, working with them to instruct in usually a 6 to 8 week unit. We had check-ins with the publishers, which was very helpful. We was online, but we could ask questions because as you start teaching the program, you have all these questions about what things are, and they were able to answer. And then at the end, we all evaluated the programs and came out with the ones that we selected. And for K3, we selected Bridges by the Math Learning Center, and for grades 4 and 5, we selected Math Expressions by Hoffman, or Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. And now it is Audrey's turn.
Hello, I'm Audrey Bowdry, and I am a kindergarten teacher at the primary school, and I did pilot Bridges program. So Bridges is aligned to our Illinois Learning Standards, and it really focuses on rigor. It is available in Spanish for the dual language program, which is important because math is taught in Spanish in kindergarten through 2nd grade. There are 3 core components of the Bridges program. So the first one is problems and investigations, which is basically the core lesson. Workplaces, which is the centers or learning stations. And then Number Corner is calendar, along with some activities that really help build number fluency. Here's a picture of my kindergartners with the workplaces or the centers. So as you can see, it's very hands-on. The students are very engaged, lots of manipulatives, and it really helps build that concrete understanding of math.
Hola, I'm Mildred Vasquez. My students call me Maestra. Thank you for having us this evening. I wanted to talk about 3 of the things that I really love about the program. I also piloted the program in first grade. And one of the things I really liked were the student workbooks. And I do have a sample here. I don't have pictures of the students, just the workbook. But they did use dominoes to draw from. And then the workbooks are designed so that you can collaborate with another student. And it allows them to investigate and reason. So here on the top one, it says 5 + 5 = 10, 0 + 4 = 4. And then in the middle, they would circle is 10 greater than, less than, or equal to 4? And then they would pull the dominoes to show, they would pull the domino. So one student would pull the domino 5 + 5, and then the other student would pull the domino 0 + 4. And then they would reason and collaborate and figure out the answer. Sorry. The next slide. So this one is a slide where the students and the teachers get to play a game against each other, and they love playing against the teacher. They get so excited. They are squealing with joy. I have other teachers coming in from other rooms asking, "What are you guys playing? What are you doing?" It's very engaged. These games are also released into the workplaces that Audrey talked about. So once we play it together as a class, then it gets released to them in their workplaces. And then the last thing is that I really love about the program is that it is a cross-curricular. It allows for cross-curricular connections. So here, the students learned what a quilt was. Believe it or not, they did not know what a quilt was. So that was one thing that we learned about. We also learned about starfish. We read a poem about starfish, and we learned all about starfish. And then they also learned patterns and fractions. So some of the squares are wholes, some of them are halves, and then some of them are even a quarter. So they learned how to put a pattern together, and they also learned how to count by 5s with this. So we learned a starfish has 5 arms, and they would count 5, 10, 15 in Spanish. So those are the 3 things that I really liked about the program. I hope that you guys like it too. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Newman, 5th grade math teacher. I was lucky enough to pilot math expressions. I brought the book up here. I wanted to just show you some things. Can we go to the day-to-day slide, or the day lessons, one more? Yes. I wanted to first show you what a math lesson looks like with this program, because this is one of the things that I really liked about it. I didn't think I would when I began, but each lesson starts out with discourse. So they have this cute little penguin here. He's called the Puzzled Penguin. And students are, can you guys hear me if I just put this down?
Oh, they can't hear.
Oh, I can't. Okay, sorry. So the kids are presented with find the error before they even learn anything. And it gets them thinking. It also heavily involves math talk. So the kids are discussing, why do you think it's that way? They're thinking more critically. They're digging a little deeper. Then the lessons move into some good visuals. So the kids are working with models before they go into standard algorithms. And this was what I liked this in the tech piece. The tech piece is really, really, really remarkable. But the kids get a strong visual of what they're doing before they go to a standard algorithm. So they're learning why the numbers make whatever they happen to be making. The tech piece with this is really great. They have formative assessments. They have differentiated activities. They differentiate right away. They have Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions through the tech piece. Not only are there hands-on manipulatives, but online manipulatives through the tech as well. There are games. that differentiate at the student's level, so they'll change difficulty based on how the students are answering the questions or how they're playing the games. So I like this program a lot. I think for 4th and 5th graders coming from Bridges, which is a lot of visual models, a lot of hands-on, this would be a nice transition for 4th and 5th graders.
So I'm not going to go through all the costs, so you do have them in a full report that's in your packet. But just to let you know, there's a little bit of a different kind of twist in some respects. For the Bridges program, there's actually going to be an annual cost. Typically, I come up here and I present. We talk about, a lease, a 6-year lease of some sort, where it's all the money up front, and then we have access through the next 6 years. But there is going to be an annual cost. We did a lot of things to try to cut that down, though, and I put that in the reports as well, including having some of the actual workbooks done internally through our own copy systems here. And then and that's a little bit just more of a detail of that. And then the last piece about HMH, math expressions, that's pretty straightforward licensing. And again, that would be the same 6-year kind of cost. Just to let you know, one last thing, of course, is that this is all going to go through the current budget that you've already adopted when you adopted the FY22 budget. So there's no expenses beyond that. In fact, we're going to be under budget. But don't spread that around too much because other people like to take that money away. So, but we are a little under budget here, yeah.
He's smiling.
No, yeah, Chris is all right with it. So next time, just to get a little bit of a next steps, we've obviously presented today. In June, on June 23rd, we're going to come back and we're going to ask if you could go ahead and improve this. If you have any questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me, or I'd be happy to reach or connect you with anyone that piloted the materials to give you more detail. Over the summer, then, we would plan on providing professional development. That will most likely take place in August. And then during the year, we have other opportunities that we'll be looking at to support teachers throughout that transition. So that's a summary of our K-5 upcoming math adoption. Okay.
Great.
Any questions?
Good.
Anything I can help you with?
And board members, questions? You have a question?
I don't have any.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Great
much.
job.
All right, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very much. You seem like really great teachers. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, they seem like great teachers.
Have a great rest of your evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Good night.
That's it. See you.
Next up in your packet is a written report on federal grant for the Consolidated District Plan. Are there any questions? And maybe just for the record, explain what the Consolidated District Plan is.
Steve would be the best person to do that.
Steve, where is
I think he just
He just
out for a
left?
second.
I think you just left with the math team.
How, oh. What did you say?
I've never seen you move so
Sorry,
fast.
what was the question?
Hi.
How you doing?
Welcome back. We just
Yes.
wanted, for the record, I know people get confused on what Consolidated District
Yes.
Plan is, so
Correct.
just for the record, I wanted you to just explain that.
Absolutely. Well, we really appreciate and love our colleagues over on Gurney 56 and in Warren Township High School. We are not consolidating districts. This is what this is the state's attempt to try to make grant writing more streamlined. I think the 5 of us in the room, or 4 of us in the room, would probably disagree with that they've reached their goal. I think it's made it more complex, but what it is, think about it this way, is like you have to put in a whole bunch of data that everyone uses in their grant, all in one grant or submission, and then we all still do our own separate grants. So that's what the intent is. It makes it more complicated. Annually, we'll come back and ask you to approve this CDP, and pretty much it will have the same kind of information in it. But it's basically, I think the one thing that I will say it's more beneficial is it does have us talk a little bit, in some cases where we have overlap, how can we kind of, what we call braiding now is the big term that's being used, how can you braid federal grants together? So how can I take money from, like, for instance, in LipLeps, that Elizabeth oversees that piece, Liz Sanchez-Pezzi, as well as Title I. How can we put those funds together, but still be able to identify their impact upon our instruction separately? So that's called braiding. So that's a little bit more of what the state is trying to do, because there is some reasonable amount of federal money that we get. So does that help with that summary?
Yeah, it does. Are there any questions?
For me.
So we'll see this as an action item in June?
Yes.
Okay.
An action item in June.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a written report on 6th through 8th grade math resource, 2-year extension. Oh, is that you too?
It can be me, yes, absolutely. So,
is there any? Oh, sorry. Go ahead and do a brief overview.
Yeah, I'll just do a brief overview. There's no presentation for this because really what our middle school math teachers have asked for is really, after going through the same kind of process that we just saw with the K-5, was really to keep what we already have in place. So we've talked with the publisher. The current edition that we have, they will still support it for the next 2 years, and so our team thought that that would be a reasonable amount of time. So we'll be requesting 2 one-year approvals of the current system, the current Glencoe math that we use in the middle school level. This is for our core program, our core students. So that's the way we're going to do that. And then 2 years from now, we'll be going ahead and going through the same regular adoption process at that time to see if things have changed in the marketplace.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions?
Just to say, I've heard multiple times from parents how well prepared Woodland students are when they get to high school, and how they're able with math and to move into a higher level math class. So whatever we're doing, it's really working.
And I would really love to add to that, but I don't want to say something's not quite correct. But what we do get data from Warren, and that shows exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I don't want to expand on too much more. Maybe I put something into a written report, just kind of as a weekly for you. But that's exactly what our students are very successful when they go to Warren, especially in math. And that is a testament really to obviously the great instruction going on in our classrooms.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. How about the written report in your packet on the preliminary budget from Mr. Bobeck? Did you want to just provide a brief overview and see if there's any questions from the board?
Sure. A lot of what was prepared in the written report was just letting you know where we could expect some increases or decreases, whether it be revenues or expenditures. Obviously, this year we are going through negotiations, so that's going to play an impact in how the budget winds up for fiscal year 23. We're in interesting economic times, to say the least. The revenues that we'll be using will be off of multiple CPIs for fiscal year 23. So we'll have the 1.4%, which seemed like forever ago in CPI and inflation. And then we'll also have the 5% because inflation was up near 7% at the previous December CPI. Interest rates are going up, which is a good thing because obviously we get some interest income, and for a long time it was nothing, then it shot up and we got some decent interest income, and then it went right back down to nothing, but it's come up a little bit. Depending on what happens with inflation, if they can curb inflation at the federal level, hopefully that will stay up. Evidence-based funding, the state once again approved the additional $300 million going to the schools. The additional $50 million goes towards the tax relief. Whether or not that gets eaten up by Prairie Crossing will be determined by this year's audit and what our operating expense per pupil is, or our per capita tuition cost, actually. What else do we have? FEMA grant is running out this year. They expanded it and expanded it and expanded, and we're just talking with somebody. We've become very friendly with FEMA. We've spoken with them quite a bit. They said, for right now, June 30th will be the last date. If they expand that once again, that's fantastic for us because we've been able to get, I think we've turned in 11, 12 projects now. And once upon a time I said we're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink at them, and we did. And it's paid off in dividends. So that's fantastic. We still have ESSER funds, which is good. ESSER funds will be utilized for the next 2 years. On the expenditure side, we have some areas, medical and dental insurance. The premiums there last year, we saw premiums that went down. What did we know was going to happen this year? Well, all of a sudden people were going to start going back to the doctor, start having procedures. 9.1% increase for HMO, 5.5% for the PPO. Over 2 years, not terrible. As a 1 year, obviously that's going to be a little bit of a ding, a little bit of a dent. inflation in general, that's obviously something as well. We're hoping that, that 8.3% turns into, by the end of the year, something a little bit more reasonable. One of the big issues that we have, so with insurances, you've got the workers' comp, you've got the property and liability, but the one thing that keeps coming back is the cyber insurance, because everybody is being attacked, and it's becoming very difficult to get cyber insurance, and it's something that's a necessity. So cyber insurance rates are going up by anywhere from 100% to 200%. Our group has been able to manage, at this point in time, they're working with about a 70% increase, but they're still working on it. It's
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Can you repeat that?
70%.
Okay.
Cyber insurance is first of all, it's incredibly difficult to get. There are certain things that we're going to have to put into play for next year. We're going to have to do multi-factor authentication, otherwise we will be uninsurable.
Okay.
But because of what's happening, because of all of the cyber attacks that are happening, and a lot have happened to school districts, it's become incredibly difficult just to get insurers to provide cyber insurance, and the premium rates have gone up. They still have not finalized ours, but they're looking at a 70, possibly 80% increase over where it was in the previous year. And that's after we spend money trying to beef up our security by adding something like multi-factor authentication. So, in addition, some other large expenditures, we will have some curriculum adoptions. And then, obviously, it's negotiations and where we land with negotiations. So, at the June board meeting, I'll have a more detailed account number by account number. Now, that one, depending on where we're at, will probably change maybe significantly over the summer, maybe not. It depends how, I guess, good I am at anticipating where we're going to be in a couple of months. But you'll have something on paper that'll show you what it's going to be in terms of a surplus or a deficit. That'll be the operational funds. Clearly, we're doing some construction projects. We've got, our roofing project over at the middle school and the solar project at the middle school are a large chunk, and we're going to start tackling asphalt in a much more significant way. You're looking at probably 7 figures there as well. Okay. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions or comments?
Just to say that after years of hard work, can you mention really quickly about the SREX news?
We got the SREX. We secured them after an extension and extension and extension and extension. And after the middle school project, we went from ground mount to roof mount to no mount, back to roof mount. One of the remaining factors were the SREX that we applied for several years ago still going to, was the Illinois Shines program still going to let us have that, because we had extended them so many times. And I can't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, we found out that yes, they are extending them to us. That is the highest bucket of solar renewable energy credits. Anything that's out now is going to be of a lesser amount, so we're excited to get that, and we're excited to get this project up and going in 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's just fantastic. Great work.
Yep, great work. Anything else? Okay, then we'll move forward with the written report in our packet on physical restraint and timeout oversight team. Dr. Laney Walls is coming forward. You want to give us a brief overview and see if there's questions from the board, please? Beautiful dress, by the way.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Thank you for approving the educational services plan. I'm very excited. So tonight I want to just overview the memo in your packet, because this is a new initiative where boards must create an oversight team for physical restraint, timeout, and isolated timeout. So timeout, as you know, is just the involuntary separation of a student supervised by an adult and removed from the classroom. Isolated timeout is the involuntary confinement. The student is on one side of the door. An adult is not in the room with the student. We don't have any instances of isolated timeout in our district. And then physical restraint is holding a student or restricting movements for a period of time as a de-escalation technique. So each school board must develop an RTO team and the team has to create a plan to eventually eliminate the use of timeout and isolated timeout and physical restraint. So the plan is required for any school district who has any instances of those 3 processes within the last 3 years. So if you take a look at your memo, you'll see that for this school year, we've had 16 different events for current students, but 6 students had all 16 events. Right? All right? And those took place at our primary and elementary school campuses. So in this plan, we have to come up with specific actions to eliminate RTO, period, right? We have to develop IEPs that are oriented toward the prevention of RTO. We need to ensure that all school personnel are aware of a student's history if they need to intervene in that manner for any reason. And we need to make sure we cast a vision for cultural change, meaning that we're using positive behavior interventions, we're using de-escalation techniques, crisis intervention, and debriefing meetings. So after there is an incident, that the team has an opportunity to get together and process that. Right? So our timeline is tight because each school board's plan needs to be submitted to ISBE by July 1st. So we've already created an oversight team that includes administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, and related service providers. We have already disaggregated our current data, which is included in your memo. The next level of work is for us to actually create the plan and then come back in June to report on the plan. The plan does not need board approval, but we certainly want to make sure that you are good with it before I submit it to ISBE on July 1.
Yes.
All right? And that's it until June, unless you have questions about this.
Questions, board members? Thank you. Appreciate it. Next up, we have a written report on annual fuel bid. Chris, did you want to give us some overview and take questions from the board?
Sure. Every year we bid our fuel delivery service. It's been successful in the years past because typically it's wound up where they actually pay us to deliver gas to us. We have about 240,000 gallons of regular gasoline that we go through. One of the changes that might happen this year is we usually bid regular and diesel, but we don't really use that much diesel anymore. It's used for some of our smaller equipment items. We're actually considering potentially, we have a diesel tank that's an underground storage tank that we might fill up and take out of use. We're not quite there just yet. We're waiting on some prices and some quotes. But right now, it's a 5,000 gallon tank, and we go through maybe 500 gallons. So if you fill that up, the gasoline, the diesel is just going to go to waste. But it's the annual bid, and we'll go ahead and we'll put that in the newspaper, and then we'll have a bid opening in June, and we can take back the results for approval at our June governing meeting.
Questions, board members? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward with the written report on Champions contract renewal. So Dr. Maychak, did you want to come forward for questions from the board? The renewals in our packet, we've all had an opportunity to review it, but
Yes, so thank you. And actually, just want to recognize Mr. George Thomas from Champions is in the audience tonight. He's been a great supporter of us, and formally thank George and his team for all the flexibility and support you gave us during the pandemic when we were in remote learning. So regarding the contract, and you've got the details, overall there's a 2% tuition increase for our families, which is considerably lower than tuition increases in childcare for childcare providers, at least through the KinderCare Corporation in other settings. So The biggest piece is we wanted to make sure, leave all of our options open. So for example, in the original draft of the contract, middle school was not listed as a site, but I know in the past, middle school families have asked about a Champions program, and even if we wanted to offer something in an evening like a floor hockey league or something like that, that leaves the door open. I'm also really happy to say that George and his team were willing to work with us to once again offer District 50 staff some really nice discounts for using the program. George and I were just talking in the back in light of everything going on, how we could upgrade some security, looking at the exterior of the buildings and so forth and so on. I know we had a couple of parent concerns about that, so we're I don't know, Mr. Bobeck, if there were is there anything else that I've missed?
I think one of the changes they talked about was the kind of like mid-year leveling up to the appropriate, not necessarily age, just more or less appropriate activities for students displaying, different types of behavior. So it's kind of a program it's new, if I'm not mistaken, that'll help out the students. It was very positive when they gave us the presentation.
Anything further?
On behalf of Champions, we just want to extend our sincere...
You have to come forward and
sure,
use
sure.
the mic
Oh,
because
absolutely.
we're taping the meeting, or
Absolutely.
broadcasting, I should say.
On behalf of Champions, we just want to extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation. Over 20 years worth of partnership. And it's bittersweet to see Dr. Casey, her departure, but it's also very exciting to have Dr. Maychek, who's been an absolute brand ambassador of ours and a super partner in mitigating through the pandemic, as well as additional opportunities. We look forward to another 3 years worth of strong partnership. Whatever, I mean, in layman's terms, whatever Woodland needs, they are a VIP client of ours. Dating back from our president, Dan Figurski, and his involvement with establishing the contract. I mean, it's a very intimate relationship, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep that integrity going. So.
Thank you. Anything? Board? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Then next up, we have the, in your packet, the Freedom of Information Act request, FOIA request. Did you want to go through those briefly, Chris?
Yeah, we had 3. One from Deltec, requested on May 9th, due the 7th of June. They're submitting a records request actually for our bid for the roof-mounted solar project. We went ahead and responded to that. North American Procurement Council, on behalf of the customers, requesting on April 25th, we're due on May 24th. We responded on the 11th. They were looking for bid tabulation and contract award information for, that was the roof, or the asbestos removal bid that went out. These are general FOIAs that we get every time we get a project. And then Sherry Reed from Smart Procure, this is a quarterly request that we received. This is on April 20th, due the 18th. We responded on the 18th. They were looking for information, including all purchasing records from 120 to current, limited to scanning of documents, and what they want is purchase order numbers, purchase orders, invoices, encumbrances, check numbers, purchase dates, line item details, line item quantity. It is basically a marketing request that we have to do every quarter. We went ahead and responded to them as well.
Okay. Any questions for Chris? Thank you. Next up, we'll move into board improvements and operations. First up, the committee reports. Are there any committee reports to share tonight?
We had a finance committee. I think I previously mentioned we did the meeting over at elementary school. We wanted to take a look. There had been some emails that were received, and we wanted to make sure that we addressed the emails. A lot of it has to do with the unification. You've got a lot of staff members who are going to be moving from classroom to classroom, and they got a chance to check out new classrooms and address any concerns that they might have. This is when Mr. Woolberg put together the needs survey, and He's trying to do as much as he can because it is a big move, and time is a big thing for the teachers. So he was very sensitive to their needs. When we went over and we were looking at some of the incidents that were reported, a lot of it is cosmetic work. And some of that cosmetic work we weren't able to get to this year based off of how we actually had to run the building due to COVID. A lot of that has to do with lunches. The lunches were spread out between gymnasiums and cafeterias, and a lot of the staff were spread thin, and we were short-staffed a little bit. But we're looking at the needs, and when we went through, there's a plan of attack to address the needs, which I think is the most important thing. And a lot of it has to do with the work order system that the Director of Operations and Facilities, John, has put in, versus an old system that we might have used, which was a lot of emails and talking in hallways and maybe passing each other, and some things could slip through the cracks. Now we've got a verifiable system that we can look at and address and find. You can take a look at that information and see what's getting done and what's not getting done and how many orders are processed. I know it's going to be a lot of work this summer, but his team, they've set up a way to, it's kind of teams that are going to be working on different parts in different areas, and they're going to go through from room to room, and they're going to address everything that's been put into the work order system and all of the concerns that have been brought forth. And even more importantly, what they're going to do throughout the summer is communicate everything that they're doing in all of the classrooms, just so everybody can see the progress that is made throughout the summer, so everybody knows that when they come back, what's been done. And there's probably going to be a few things remaining, because all in all, before teachers get back, it's 29 work days. So they've got a lot of work to do in a short amount of time, but they're up to it. But there's going to be things that they'll still need to address as the school year begins, and hopefully they'll be caught up shortly thereafter. But it was a good walkthrough with the Finance Committee, and they got to see what people were talking about when they had some of those concerns.
Okay. Anything further? Okay, we'll move forward then with the board improvements, status requests and future board meeting. Any topics for discussion? I know we have a meeting, team building, I believe that's June 29th. We have the team building exercise with Dr. Maychek.
Can I add something? Laura received for the joint annual conference, which I know this is May, but it happens in November, and the need for rooms closes in the beginning of June. So if you need, or if you're interested in going, Laura needs to know as soon as possible so we can make sure that we get rooms for you and get you rooms where you want them. I know you have to send it in by June 6th. Is that correct, Laura? Any other information you need from board members?
Just really if you're going to be attending and if you will be bringing somebody with you and how many nights you're going to stay. In what hotel? Do you want the Fairmont again or?
Yeah. Yes, Fairmont.
Okay, what would be your second choice?
Second choice? There's no such thing. I don't know. The other hotels get so congested. Well, I guess if we had to choose a second hotel, I think we would want to stay at the Hyatt just because I think it would be hard getting back and forth across. But that's a very congested hotel.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right.
Fairmont or Hyatt?
Or the Hyatt.
If we got to do it.
Yeah.
I defer to those who know more about it than I do, because
Okay.
I've only been once, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember we used to stay at the Swiss Hotel. There's an underground
Yes, there is.
so that could be, if no objections, we can.
And that one doesn't seem to be, from my experience, because that's where all of the sessions are held for me, that does not seem to be as crowded, from my experience, being in there as often as.
Yeah, because we know the Hyatt is really crowded. That's the main hotel, and then the Sheraton is kind of that second hotel. It gets pretty crowded. I think we stayed there one year. And so the Fairmont is less. So I would say the Fairmont or the Swiss, but if we had to stay at the Hyatt.
I have one question. I was trying to plan my summer, and I noted
that we don't have any board meetings set on a calendar beyond June, unless I noticed wrong.
No, you are correct. That's a topic that we do discuss in June.
Do?
How can I plan
No,
my
we
phone?
normally do it in June, so then you can determine if you still want it the same day of the week, if you still want it the same, you know, if you want to change anything.
We do that when we reorganize.
We do it annually, so we did it, you know, last June, and then we do it again this June.
Okay, yeah, normally we do.
I just did what was always been done.
Oh, okay.
from- I don't know.
I don't
But if there's
remember doing
something,
that, But, yeah, that's sort of what you do when you reorganize, you set your meeting dates. But it's okay to re-verify in June that that date still works for everybody. Would that be too late? I mean, well, it's May now, so.
So just
We look at July, maybe,
Oh.
July 28th.
I mean, if you want to do something in the summer,
Well, the
I kind of have a
third.
plan now.
Well, I don't know, I would just assume that we're going to keep it
Keep it the same.
the same date unless there's any objections. That way you can just plan it out, and not hearing any objections.
July 28th will be our board.
Whatever that fourth Thursday of the month is, we would keep it the same.
That's what I kind of figured, because we haven't been for years, but.
Yeah.
Good for the calendar for the back 2 rows.
Haven't heard any complaints about
Are you
this.
okay with that?
This date.
They seem fine.
Yeah.
I like Thursday.
So would you like me to go ahead for the next meeting and just provide those dates for everyone? We can put it in the communication too.
That'd be great.
Just
Yeah.
So that everybody has it.
Through the end of the year? Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, through
next June.
next June.
Oh, through next June?
We usually do it just by fiscal year. I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Lizzie's
I mean,
got
we'll-
like 6 vacations.
We'll
She's
have
got a plan. So
elections
We're gonna
in.
do that.
So we'll have elections in April, or I don't know if it'll change, but April, and then that's when we reorganize, we'll reaffirm that date or change the date depending on who's on the board at that point. So that would be next May, June. Yep. Okay, that sounds good. There anything else on board status request and future board items? Okay, hearing none, let's move to correspondence. There was one letter to the board, but it did not require a response. And so we'll move forward with citizen statements. Is there anyone that signed up for citizen statements? No? Okay. So we know that there is a reason to return to closed session, so can I get a motion to enter into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who are independent contractors, or specific volunteers of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor, or a volunteer of the district, or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, student disciplinary cases, security procedures, school bullying, safety and security, and the use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual, a threatened, or reasonably potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, the public, or public property.
Motion to move to close.
So moved?
Second.
Got it, okay. Roll call vote.
Cory?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Joe?
Yes.
Lizzie? Renee?